Today on Free Field Training, we are talking about go bags for police and also for armed security and maybe even for unarmed security out there in the world. I've done lots of videos about go bag alternatives, about armor, about setting things up, about what's important now with preparations and what the most likely things are that we're going to have to deal with if we have something like an active shooter situation or a critical incident of some kind. Today we are looking at a more budget-friendly option. I get lots of people who tell me all the time, I don't have an extra $1,000 to spend on this. What can I do with what I have now and very little else? How can I be more prepared for one of these situations? So what I put together here is a bag. This is a very simple multi-point chest rig. You can get these anywhere from $30 on Amazon all the way up to hundreds of dollars from bespoke makers, so you can fit them to whatever your particular needs are. And the type of incident we're talking about here is hopefully in the area that you're working going to be something that is very, very rare. And here's some things and a way you can set this up that will allow you to be more prepared than you can be with whatever your standard uniform is. So let's get into exactly what the philosophy behind this is. We want to be able to put things on a bag that we can grab and go with for minimal cost over what we already have, and maybe integrating some things we may already have but that we're not allowed to carry or isn't convenient to carry on our uniform, but would be convenient during some sort of critical incident. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to go through what I have in this bag and some ideas that I have for ways that I used to set these types of things up, and ways that you could now, given what we have, modern technology and modern training techniques, on a minimal budget. When we're done with that, I'm going to take some Instagram live stream comments and questions. You check Tommy_Free Field Training on Instagram. You can be part of this conversation in the future, be able to ask your comments and questions so that I can answer them and be put at the end of the video. So I'm going to put a little timestamp down here right now. That's where the comments and questions start. So this rig is a $30 special off of Amazon. A company sent this to me. I'll annotate down below who it was that sent it. It's not important who sent it, just that this is one of the cheaper options out there for a go bag that's a chest rig. So something that you can mount onto yourself and not have swinging around. And I think that's one important aspect to think about when we're doing this is, what can I have that isn't going to be another encumberment that's going to get in the way of the things that I'm trying to do? A bag is great if that's all you have. If all you have is a cheap backpack that you got at Walmart, a cheap backpack you got at Walmart is better than nothing, but I think for very little else, we can get something like this, a chest rig that we can throw up either over the MOLLE attachments that we have on our vest or over a uniform shirt. So if we don't have money to have an extra plate carrier, like I've talked about before, we can throw this on and get the functionality, the carrying capacity of a plate carrier without all the extra weight of the armor and without all the extra expense of the armor. Some places don't allow people to have extra armor to throw on, and some uniforms don't really allow it practically, and lots of people don't have the extra money to be pumping into a plate carrier, and if they do, the carrier and the armor that they get isn't the best. Let's get on things that we can do and we can add to this to make it effective for us, given what we know about active shooter, active threat, critical incident type situations. One of the main issues that we have on scenes is with proper identification. It is very cheap to get a patch. This one is from Tactically Suited. They send me free patches, so I put them into videos. But you can get all sorts of ID patches from all sorts of companies for very, very little money. I even have them made up for my YouTube channel. If I can make them up for your YouTube channel, you can buy them for your security company if you want something that says something specific on it. Almost all of these types of packs have Velcro on the front. For extra points, you could actually sew one across the back strap harness so that you've got extra identification on your back if your uniform doesn't normally have that. That's something that's lacking in lots of people's uniforms, is clear, concise ID. You can throw that on and then you have it. Another thing that most of us aren't carrying around on our actual uniforms that we probably should be is medical. In here, I just took a bunch of extra medical stuff that I had laying around and I threw it into this top center pouch. Now, if I have clear ID on my uniform, I could delete this and just put a medical patch, or we could use the universal sign for there's med inside this pouch by just taking red lanyard or red 550 cord and putting it onto these zippers, getting rid of the black 550 cord that comes with it, putting red on there, then it looks like med. And I think that's a real cheap, easy solution for people knowing that's met up front. In here, I put my oldest tourniquet and an Olays bandage, and here's a SWAT T tourniquet. Just extra stuff that I have to show what'll fit inside, and I think this is airway in here. But you could put all sorts of things in there. If you've got extra medical gear around, or you want a good idea of what medical gear to carry, you can check out other videos for stuff that comes inside of those med kits. I would at the very least put a tourniquet in there and a pressure dressing, and then I'd add a chest seal and hemostatic agent. That would be ideal. But if we're not talking about spending a bunch of extra money, whatever med gear you have, mount that onto the chest rig that you can carry around with you. Another thing that a lot of armed security guards, that a lot of cops that are new on the job, that cops that have been around a long time on the job but don't want to spend a lot of money or don't have the money to spend, have around is training magazines. Now normally we take our training magazines and we have them loaded up with training ammo, and they're sitting in a bag somewhere, they're sitting in our car somewhere, they're sitting in a shelf somewhere at home, they're at the range, whatever else. If we have extra magazines and we have extra ammo, but it's not allowed to carry it on our uniform, or it's not practical to carry on our uniform, we can take it with for a situation like this. A lot of these will allow at least 2 pistol mags, so we don't have to go buy a rifle. We don't have to have another special gun. We don't have to have another special thing. Just take your training mags, load them up with duty ammo or whatever ammo that you can get, because the likelihood of getting to these is actually pretty low. But if you want to be more prepared, there's no reason that you can't have extra ammo on you for your duty pistol. Having separate training and duty mags is our best practices today. It makes sure that our gun is most likely going to run with our go mags, the ones that are on our duty belt, but there's no reason not to put our training mags, if they're reliable, load them up with ammo and have them on our person. This setup has 4 extra mags, which I think you're more likely to run out of time before you're likely to run out of ammo with 4 spare pistol magazines. Another thing that has come up repeatedly for me, and I've actually stepped back from my original videos about go bags and law enforcement, is water. I've had several incidents where we were not in an area where there were going to be water fountains. We always assume something like that is going to be in an office building or a school where there's going to be water fountains nearby, there's going to be washrooms nearby, there's going to be stuff nearby where we're going to be able to get water and use the facilities. That has not always been the case. I've had a few that were in areas that didn't have that or didn't have it immediately accessible, and a water bottle costs 79 cents if you don't buy a whole case of them, if you don't already have them in your house. They're really cheap. They hold forever. You don't have to worry about a sealed water bottle getting gunky, and if it does, you throw it away, you put another one in there, it costs almost nothing. It's a real easy way to be more prepared. Zip cuffs are another one. If you buy them in bulk, if your agency has them laying around, if it's something that you're issued and they're just sitting in your duty bag now, there's no reason not to take zip cuffs and put them onto your equipment. If you do have a chest rig, or if you've got a vest or something like that, or there's MOLLE on the outside, you can actually run most of these. These are ASP zip cuffs here, mil-spec plastic zip cuffs here, so you can show 2 different ways, 2 different types of zip cuffs. Almost all of these foldable zip cuffs will run right down 2 layers of MOLLE. So you can mount these onto the back of a vest or a pouch or your duty gear or whatever else. If you're going to put a chest rig on and you want to have extra cuffs available in case there's some circumstance where you have to zip cuff a whole bunch of people, right? And this is your all hazards go bag, you can throw those on there and you can have as many as you want. They don't weigh anything. So if you're already issued them, they don't cost much. If you want to buy them on Amazon, there's links and stuff down below for all this stuff, but these are super cheap, especially if you're buying them in bulk. So if you and a few people get together and you each want 2 of them, you buy 10 of them, they're going to cost you $4 or $5 a piece. The last thing that we always tend to forget when we get out of the car and then realize we don't have them and maybe we need them is a pair of duty gloves. These are the Dexterity gloves from Safe Life Defense. I use these as my spares because I have a whole bunch of spares. And they're really great for the summertime. They protect my hands, they don't rip and shred, and they're great for training. But you could use any gloves. If you don't have money for expensive gloves, you could use a pair of mechanic gloves. You could fill this pouch with a bunch of rubber gloves. That might be a great thing to put up here. You could have, if there's an expansion pouch on the back, like this one has a little expansion area that's supposed to be used for a whole bunch of rifle magazines, you could throw just boatloads of rubber gloves in there, and there's plenty of instances where that would come in really handy. These are some things to think about when you're thinking about setting up a go bag. If you're not going to go buy a rifle and have rifle plates and magazines and all of that, you can be more prepared on a budget. Here's some things to think about: ID, medical, water, hand protection. What are we going to do as suspects? Extra ammo for our duty pistol. Now we're a lot more prepared. It doesn't weigh anything. And this whole setup, if I was to go out and buy all of the things individually for this, would cost under $200. But I'd be willing to bet most people that are watching this video, that are doing this professionally, probably have most of this stuff sitting in a drawer or a box in their basement or closet. So that is free field training for today. Until next week, you guys be safe. Take care of each other. I'm going to go to the Instagram live stream comments and questions right after the Patreon announcement. We'll see you guys next time. That's been your free field training for today. While you're here, check out one of the other videos that we made, or down here, subscribe so you can see more. Or you could check out Patreon, where you can see how you can get your name put on the videos, like all these fine folks over here. I'll see you guys next time. Vince Shot It 702 says, do you have zip ties? And asks, if so, how many? So I have a bunch of zip cuffs. I always keep about 3 in my duty bag. And then I have extra sets of handcuffs on my person, and sometimes I'll carry 1 pair of zip cuffs on my person at work. I don't really use a plate carrier anymore. I have integrated my armor into a kind of an all hazards approach. I have a front FRAS plate, which is a flexible rifle plate from Safe Life Defense. There'll be a link down below for like all of this stuff. But that is what I carry at work. So I have a front rifle plate, my soft armor, and then all of my gear is hooked on it. And a lot of this stuff is. The only thing that I don't have with it that I carry on my person every day now, because policy allows it and I think it should be best practices for most people, is water. And that's a big thing that has come up repeatedly, is not having hydration when you're stuck away from your car or away from civilization for a period of time. So I carry 3 in my duty bag, 1 on my person, and then in this bag there's 5, but you could carry 20 if you wanted to. If your main concern was riots, you might want to carry a whole boatload of zip ties and water and 1 pair of, of really protective gloves, and you might not need extra ammo at all. You think like, all right, extra ammo isn't going to do me any good, but I'm going to need lots of zip ties. Bubby442 asks, what type of medical supplies would you recommend for go bags? Whatever you're trained to use by your agency. For most people, that is going to be at the very least a pressure dressing. A pressure dressing is something that you can literally watch a YouTube video on and learn how to treat most injuries that are like traumatic injuries. If it's bleeding, a pressure dressing is probably going to help. And then from there, you just carry what you're trained to do. For most people, that's going to be a pressure dressing and a tourniquet at minimum. And then you start working on to chest seals and hemostatic agent and rolled gauze and things like that as you get better training. But that is where I would start. That's the bare minimums. That's what's going to come in most of your bleeding and trauma control kits, and that's what I would recommend. But start moving that direction if you're going to build a go bag. To start off with, whatever you have already, put it on your go bag. Don't leave it in the car. Keep it on your person as much as you possibly can.